Hunter Biden took responsibility through his attorneys for what he did, pled guilty, got a punishment for it, is paying a fine, making restitution on the taxes he didn't pay, and I guess he's some sort of sanction about him not, buying the gun or lying on the form because he said he wasn't an addict at the time, wasn't using drugs at the time, which is something, by the way, addicts will do. Addicts, not necessarily the most truthful people in the throes of their addiction, and the court kind of recognizes that. Again, the gun issue being what it is, it's a very tough one for the Republicans because they think everybody should be assigned a gun at birth with the serial number scrubbed off, and they're pissed. And Jesse Waters, since he's kind of, I don't know, perpetually pissed, this is Jesse Waters, FBI, CIA, using Biden laptop as blackmail. Okay, again, why? The contents are out. How can you blackmail somebody with shit everybody knows? The CIA showing up, Mr. President, if you don't sign off on all of our military industrial coups in the four corners of the earth, we're going to release pictures of your son smoking in the bathtub. Please don't. All right, here we go.
It's the sweetheart deal heard around the world. Hunter Biden.
Greg trying to read is one of my new favorite. Like, it's like my safe word for actually enjoying life. If I want to enjoy life, my enjoyment of life to stop.
Biden avoiding prison after pleading guilty and cutting a deal for his tax and gun crimes. Dad's campaign would like the issue to go away, but GOP candidates have other plans.
You look at this Hunter Biden case today.
Yeah.
That's a gun law that was on the books, that if you are a drug user or a drug abuser, you're not allowed to apply for a gun permit. Now, that law seems to make perfect sense, except today we're seeing it's not being enforced.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you pay a fine and that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean you're going to go to jail for trying to do it. And again, a drug user or abuser, define that in terms of what's legal in certain states versus others. And the fact that the guy is seeking a gun permit in this case, I'm fairly certain it was just in the purchase of a gun. But if you're trying to get a permit, like a concealed carry permit, and you have to tell people you're using drugs or you're a drug abuser in that permit and you held it back, you do realize you're arguing that Hunter Biden was trying to get a concealed carry permit. He was trying to get the permit to do it. Now, I think he's got that wrong. I think it's just the purchase of the gun. But I'm like, how many addicts are doing the proper paperwork, trying to get a permit for stuff?
Let me just say, we all know this, that the big guy has some explaining to do.
Tim Scott. I gotta know.
Why? Sorry, are you an adult human being? Is your father on the line for any fuck-ups you do? The fuck are you talking about? That part I don't get. Like the idea somehow, and if you want to say like he raised one son well and one son very poorly or whatever after his wife was fucking killed in a car accident, right? That like the day he won the election, essentially.
The media thinks that if you attack Hunter, though, you're a big old jerk, and that the first son should have gotten off.
No, in all fairness, I don't know anybody who doesn't think Greg isn't a big old jerk. Not a single person. Even the people I've met at Fox. So, I'm just saying it didn't start recently.
Easy.
If this wasn't Hunter Biden, it is likely he wouldn't have been prosecuted at all.
It's not going to stop y'all from going after Biden. Everybody knows that. You don't have to tell us. We know you're going to keep looking because you're lookers.
This is painful for the president personally and politically. He is a devoted father who has stood by his son throughout his struggles with addiction, throughout this investigation, adamant that Hunter did absolutely nothing wrong. But it is clear Republicans are...
Also, that's not true. He hasn't been adamant that Hunter did nothing wrong. He had a troubled kid for a very long time. His son had real issues. He just stood by him because he's gotten his life together, not what was happening. You can hear in the recordings of him like worried about his son. He wouldn't be worried if his son hadn't been engaged in bad behavior, and that might cost him his life.
Not going to drop this.
What do these jerks in the House want Joe Biden to do?
throw him out, refuse to speak to him, say he doesn't love him publicly? Do they not understand this disease and how it works?
A disease. And do you buy this?
Yes, addiction. That's what they're talking about, stupid.
Hunter's lawyer says he isn't too sure if the infamous laptop from hell was part of the investigation.
Do you have any idea if Hunter Biden's laptop had anything to do with this investigation? Was it used?
I don't. I can't recall being asked about it, to be honest with you. But there's nothing about the situation that's been filed that has a thing to do with the laptop.
Why not?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the prosecutors.
See, Judge, this raises an important point.
I do. I know why. Because they don't have the laptop and nobody does, and the hard drive that Rudy Giuliani's been shopping around and that Matt Gaetz entered into the congressional record during one of the hearings is fraudulent and full of like faked shit mixed with real shit to try and create a mix of like blackmail and compromise and garbage to try and help Trump win the election. And because Rudy Giuliani had it forever, if any evidence came from that hard drive, it would get thrown out. Fruit of the poison tree. That's why. That's why he would say that, and that's why they wouldn't ask about it. And that's why anybody who goes, we knew about this from the laptop, everybody goes, shut the fuck up.
Point that the plea deal, intentionally or not, steers all the focus onto what was settled.
Yep.
And nobody's really like talking about what was left on the table, what was given up in this process.
Everything was given up. You see, if they can say, and by the way, he doesn't strike me as a real genius there, but that's another issue. Number one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry, Judge. Throw me with your acumen.
If you were negotiating a plea deal, you know all about all of the evidence the prosecutor has because he's going to use it as leverage. The U.S. attorney is going to say, we got him on this, and this, so you better plead to this and this. They're not. He said it never came up. It never came up. It's corroboration of everything that we've been talking about. It's circumstantial.
No. If they brought it up, he would go, we want, where'd you get this evidence? And they'd go, well, we got it because of an email that we found on that thing. And so you wouldn't have gotten this entire line of questioning started if you hadn't saw it on the laptop. Okay. We want a point of discovery to have a forensic computer tech for the court verify the source of all the documents on the hard drive in question. And the minute they say we can't verify, anything that isn't we can't prove where any emails came from unless they were spam. All the spam is real. But everything else, the metadata, there's no way to link it to its real source, if at all. And they'd go move to strike the contents of the hard drive presented in evidence from the proceedings. The judge would go, of course. And then they go move to strike anything that was received in the process of looking through anything that was on that. And the judge would say, yep, that's the way it's got to go. And the case would have been closed. Period. And you know what's worse? She fucking knows this. I guarantee she sat through at least one court case that had a similar, striking of stuff because of fruit of the poison tree. If she never had a fucking single case in her courtroom that dealt with fruit of the poison tree, I'd be shocked. And now she may have been drunk during it. We don't know.
Evidence. It proves that the investigation was not a real investigation.
No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, it proves it was a real investigation because they knew there was no there in that hard drive and they didn't trust the source from which it came. And if they looked at it and it was seen as the source of the other stuff, they would never be able to bring a prosecution. The fact that they actively avoided touching on the laptop hard drive that's been shopped around by Rudy Giuliani since he flew back from meeting with Russians in Ukraine before the war, that proves they were actually working on a real case, like fucking adults.
It was something that they were holding until now, where you got 2 misdemeanors, and everybody says, "Oh, it's no big deal," and it's painful for the president. Yeah, because he's not getting his 10% anymore. Of course, it's painful for the president. And this whole thing is in Clapper now.
Wait a minute, is that Tulsi Gabbard sitting in the liberal seat?
Now saying about the laptop that I haven't seen anything to disprove it wasn't Russian information.
Wow.
They're doubling down on this. Look, The feds are leaving and saying that the case is still open so Congress cannot subpoena the records. That's why they're doing it. But there's another reason, I think, also. If we get another administration in, they're going to be able to identify the money laundering, the FARA, the lobbying, the foreign agent lobbying, all of that other stuff, the financial transactions.
They couldn't do it during the Trump administration. He just missed it. He just whiffed it.
And they're going to say this administration had it, but didn't do anything with it.
Well, speaking of the future administration, Tulsi, this is a theory posited by a friend.
Oh my God! Fucking Tulsi Gabbard is the defender in this situation. Good Lord!
That now Joe can step aside because he no longer needs to pardon Hunter Biden, so now he can go home.
Gibberish.
Is that just a crazy theory?
No. It's not crazy. It's dumb.
I don't think anything is crazy at this point. You know, I think
Well, have you watched any of RFK's recent interviews?
as far as this election goes, I think it's less about Joe Biden than it is about Kamala Harris coming in as president. But this whole thing, unfortunately, just further undermines the rule of law. People's faith that we have law and order in this country and that the
Horseshit. Can you imagine if we had a justice system wherein a hard drive with no digital trail on any of its contents that was held by your political or social opponent in any circumstance could be entered into evidence as you know, in a court of law and stand as the reason for branching out investigations into you? Just digital evidence with no metadata. None. And I quote, forensic nightmare in terms of the source of every document on that hard drive. You want that. You want that to be a fucking standard in any case. Is there a single person in this country who would be safe in that circumstance? The fuck out of here.
justice system actually means anything. And so
You're an idiot.
there are too many examples now to cite, but this is yet
Cite them. Go ahead and cite them. A lot of people say things like, there are too many to cite, so they don't have to cite them, so that people like me can't go, hang on a second, Gish Gallop.
the latest in recognizing that we have an administration and people in power who are willing to direct that power against their political opponent.
No, that was the other way around. That's where Rudy Giuliani, the president's lawyer during the last administration, went to Europe and purchased a hard drive full of faked compromat from Russians that he met with for $5 million, brought it back. This is the story. Brought it back, drummed up this fucking Keith Abloh story where they were going to have Hunter, while he was a client, dropped off this laptop and it was found there. And then that guy's office got raided. They found his laptop that he doesn't remember dropping off there, returned it to him. And by the way, there's no evidence that it's actually his. It was just a laptop that had his name on it or had his credentials on it. And they were like, this must be yours. And Biden's like, I don't remember fucking dropping this out. Thanks, I guess. Trash. And then that didn't work because that guy went down for drugging and fucking his patients. He was on Fox. And a lot as an expert and as a pundit. And then this whole fucking John Paul McIsaac thing gets cocked up out of nowhere.
And also, like every other dictatorship in the country, direct that power to protect.
Wait a minute. Every other dictatorship in the country? How many dictatorships do we have in this country? We got Florida, Texas, for sure. Used to be Portland, but obviously, rip Portland. Hashtag rip Portland.
Those that they want to protect. In this case, you know, it's Hunter Biden. And obviously, this sends the wrong message to the American people, but more data.
It does? Yes, I'm going right out to cheat on $1 million worth of taxes and buy a gun by lying on the form when I don't think it applies, when maybe my life is in danger.
Dangerously, it undermines that foundation of our democracy, which
Totally, absolutely. Because, you know, most of you guys don't know, Hunter Biden drove around in a crack haze, shooting people's ballots out of their hands whenever they had if they were wearing a MAGA hat. It would just plow, and it would just vaporize. It's just a giant cannon he carried around.
that fair justice system, that rule of law.
You know, though,
I'm shocked. I have to say, I didn't think anyone could be more dull than Dana Perino and Greg. That's amazing. Tulsi, congratulations. You have risen you've raised the bar with Spartacus. You've raised the bar of what it means to be completely boring on the 5. Nice work.
Notice something really positive about the media, Jesse.
He wrote this joke down and he's been waiting to say it. He apparently Jimmy Dore is his comedy coach.
Here's a case of a white guy getting special treatment, and they didn't scream systemic racism.
That's a good point.
So
that's a good point. And when you bring it up with me, one of the things I hate, is races. So it's a good point.
They're no longer blaming that on racism.
I guess. I mean, it's like when Greg goes up to do a joke, it's like watching a kid walk up to a wiffle ball stand but wearing a piñata blindfold and just whiffing and whipping around and falling on the ground.
We have tonight
only not as charming and funny, I suppose, as even that would be.
Ja Rule's attorney. Ja Rule paid no taxes on the same amount of money that Hunter did, and he got sentenced to 2 years in prison.
Right. See? Yeah, but he fought it. He went to court. He fought the whole thing. He didn't plead guilty. Again, hold on. Let's go to, let's see. Ja Rule tax case. There we go. There we go. There you go. Sentence prison resulting in 1.1. Yeah, here you go. Guilty. Here you go. Pleads guilty to tax evasion. Rapper Ja Rule pleaded guilty on Tuesday to failing to file tax returns and promised to pay more than $1 million in back taxes and penalties. New York. Okay, you got it. Original name is Jeffrey Atkins. Newark Federal Court. 3 counts of failing to file a tax return 2004 through 2008, even though he was making money from royalties and live tours. The Grammy-nominated rapper recently agreed to pay the government more than $1.1 million in tax debts, plus penalties imposed by the IRS. Each of us must pay our fair share of the country's federal judge $500,000 bail and permitted Atkins' release pending sentencing. And he was sentenced to 2 years of prison after pleading guilty to a weapons possession charge stemming from a 2007 incident where he was pulled over by police who discovered a semi-automatic handgun in his luxury car. That's the difference. The 2 years in jail had to do with this, not the taxes. The taxes, he's not going to jail for that. And the gun, lying on a permit about a gun that you no longer have in your possession, which is what happened in Hunter's case, is different than having an unlicensed firearm in your possession when he was pulled over by police. Okay, he has appeared in Fast and Furious Scary Movie 3. I'm curious about that 27000 incident. Shall we take a look? Hold on. Ja Rule 2007 gun, whatever. Let's see. Pleads guilty to prison bound after plea. 2000. Okay. 3-year-old. Okay. Rapper Ja Rule will head to prison for 2 years next year after pleading guilty to 3-year-old gun charges this morning. Bravo and front friends remains free pending his court date. Today is not a good day for me. I'm not in the mood. It's not a good day, fellas. Busted in 2007 when cops searched his Maybach. He left a concert at the Upper West Side's Beacon Theater, seizing a .40 caliber unlicensed handgun found inside. In today's plea, Ja Rule admitted he had dominion and control over the gun. He admits the gun was in the vehicle owned by his company, and therefore it was a vehicle under his control. Complicating matters was a microscopic amount of the rapper's DNA was swabbed off the gun. According to Assistant District Attorney Joan Iluzzi Orban, making it a difficult possession case to take before a jury. Had gone to trial, been convicted of the top charge against him, outright criminal possession, faced a mandatory 3.5 years possession. I'd argue the DNA sample was too small to reliably test, and the several cells swabbed with the gun could have been transferred there indirectly without Ja Rule having actually handed the gun. Blah, blah, blah. Because you're guilty here today, you'll have a record of having committed a violent felony. This is a very serious matter. Yeah, so he had a loose gun in his car, and they probably pleaded him down so that the because the gun had a history. That happens a lot. Where they're like, we don't want you to go down for what this gun did or where it was before or who had it before that. So, yeah, there you go. Lucretia Borgia in the flesh. Why aren't they talking about Trump's bullshit 1 trillion times worse than Hunter? Oh, yeah. Or, I mean, Jared Kushner's money, like the whole deal. Like, it's, of course. So, but anyways, back to Jesse Waters. Okay.
What do you think the difference is between Ja Rule and Hunter Biden?
The actual gun possession versus lying on a form. The actual unlicensed gun. By the way, the gun in question in Hunter Biden's case was a licensed gun. He was seeking a permit, and the gun itself was had a serial number. Was not a ghost gun in any way. It was bought at a gun store. It was kept under the premise of him being worthy of that license. The only difference was he lied on that form, which may have denied him the ability to have that gun. But the gun itself was not a loose gun in the wind. And he wasn't in possession of the gun when the case came up. So it's really about the form. He no longer had the gun.
Going to show us?
We'll see tonight.
We'll see tonight.
I don't like it when they...
Why don't you just say it? Why don't you just say it? One lied on a form to get a gun that was licensed and registered, and one had an unregistered, unlicensed gun in their possession when they were pulled over.
Say this disease. He smokes crack. If
he smoked crack.
If everybody that did drugs didn't pay their taxes, we'd have no revenue.
That is so true.
On drugs. That's not an excuse.
I'm sorry. So everybody at that table's on drugs, I guess.
Entire table.
The feds are
right. There you go. There was the joke. I don't think they mean Adderall and stimulants and benzos, Greg.
Never going to crack open the laptop as long as Joe Biden's president.
They're never going to crack open the laptop ever. A, there is no fucking laptop. Secondly, the hard drive, there's no way to bring that into a court of law. And if you want to talk about banana republic shit, if you could bring that hard drive into a court of law and use it as evidence, that's when our justice system doesn't mean shit.
Joe Biden, his administration is not going to investigate corruption in the Biden family. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I mean, obviously we need to know who paid for the shutters on the lake house. I know my belief is, of course, is that Hunter was staying there. He fucked around and busted one of them and had to pay to put them back because you yell at your kid and you make him pay for fucking up the house. But, I don't know, crack, foreigners, something.
Plus, the FBI and the CIA has this as blackmail. They can just dangle it in front of Joe, and he has to do whatever they say.
I see. So anything bad he does you don't like, it's because the FBI and the CIA are directing him. So he's an innocent victim. Great. Also, what?
Or else
the contents are online, shithead.
Boop, there it goes open.
What do you mean, boop, there it goes open? It's online. The whole fucking thing is online. Everything. All 416 gigabytes from a hard drive that can only hold 256 gigabytes that wasn't even full, that John Paul McIsaac says he wasn't able to get all the data off of. So less than 256 was on the hard drive, and less than that was actually extracted. And now there's more than was ever on there?
The only way it comes open if a Republican gets into the White House.
So that what? They can do what the evil CIA and FBI are trying to do? Who gives a shit?
So they're going to do everything they can to prevent a Republican from getting into the White House because
so they can continue to blackmail the president into doing things you hate him for doing? Again, I think I'm getting hypoxia from this video. I think I'm like, do you guys, does it feel like the room is losing all oxygen to you? I feel like we're at 10,500 feet. We've been here for half an hour. And the masks haven't dropped and I flugity-flug.
Laptop is basically tells everybody how guilty the entire system is. The House Republicans...
Tulsi, what are you humming about? What?
Are now looking at these heavily redacted additional FBI informant pieces of paper that Chris Wray is still trying to hide. And
no, there's still the one document.
And we're still looking at more bank records. If you had an...
Oh, we are? Oh, we are. Are we? We're looking at more bank records. And again, with the idea that Biden is he's saving that billion he's got tucked away for after he's no longer president so he can live the high life as a 92-year-old.
Impeachment inquiry open up. That can speed up the subpoena process, the witness process. But the House Republicans don't feel like it's ripe enough to do it right now. They want to
because they don't have any evidence.
Let Comer do a little bit more work.
A little more work. What? Bullshitting you? Comer is, and I'm calling it, Comer is Durham Part 2. And these people are treating Comer and his investigation like they treated Durham for 4 fucking years. Any day now, any second. And here it comes. Here it fucking comes. Here it comes. It's right here. So close. And when it comes out, boom, it's going to, I can't wait for Comer's thing to come out. When Comer's thing comes out, man, it's going to be the shit. And then, womp, 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 wah.
But the bottom line is that insiders protect insiders. You said it the other day.
Yeah, you did. Greg, you made this point. You said this. And I was like, what? And you're like, I don't know. You got some powder, like, right.
Trump's an outsider. He goes.
No, he isn't. He's a second-generation rich kid, tax dodge asshole from New York City. He's always been an insider. He's always been, like, politically, in entertainment, all these, like, he's been a gadfly around this shit to be an insider on this stuff. He's just not a public servant because he doesn't give a shit about the public.
The prison is people go to prison, but if you're Washington insider, you get the Hunter Biden treatment.
Exactly. Yeah. Where's he being charged? Oh, in Jersey.
And we just have to accept that reality right now.
Yeah, I think you do. I think that's what I would do if I were. Just accept it. Just you know what? Don't call Comer and tell him just stop looking because it's going to upset you. It's just going to, yeah. And let's see, Rob in our chat room. By the way, welcome, trolls. What a sad channel. So much disinformation. The world is really bad in a bad way if they take all of the. I'll take how serious. No, I mean, you're not supposed to take me seriously. You just have to weigh what I say against the reality or what other people say. This is actual horseshit, what they're talking about. This is nonsense.
Nothing to do with wealth. It has to do with status and power.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, because Trump has no status or power. He only has wealth. Actually doesn't have wealth. Good point.
Dana, let's talk about, we didn't bring up Hunter's stripper baby, which I swear I wasn't going to say stripper baby anymore.
The baby is not a stripper.
The baby is not a stripper, and I apologize. It's the baby,
baby
of a former stripper.
Yep.
An entertainment work.
Oh, unlike the one that Jason Miller tried to poison. I see.
Here's the deal.
Yep.
Somehow he worked it out so that the baby can't have his last name because he's worried that the baby might soil the name Biden.
This is the thing. I honestly, it upsets me the most on behalf of the girl because she's an innocent child who happened to be fathered by Hunter Biden, and that Hunter Biden has a family now, and he gets to go to the White House and fly on Air Force One, and he gets to be with all the, his children are with all the cousins, and they get all the benefits of being the Biden family.
So did the mom offer him part custody in all of this? What was the custody arrangement? What was she offering? What the court order as far as, do they have 50-50? Was there the availability of 50-50? I'll wait.
But forget like the perks. What about the love and the father and for the Bidens, the president and the first lady? It's hard for me to imagine that you don't want to hold this girl.
They do, but it's not their say because it's their son's kid, and they can't force him to do it, and they can't force the girl to be a part of something that she isn't. So it's messy. Now. Please go on about Sarah Palin's entire fucking family and the Boebert divorce and Marjorie Taylor Greene fucking the dude from RSBN, and we'll catch up. We'll stack it up. You'll do a reality show after all this is over. None of this affects policy. None of this affects any of our lives.
And yesterday when you got this plea deal and then they settled that thing and now
maybe he's waiting to settle all this shit out before he makes contact. Maybe he's even waiting until after his father is no longer president to take the pressure off the situation, to reconcile while the child is still a toddler, and then introduce himself into that and be part of the child's life. None of us know.
He only has to pay $5,000 a month in child support. That's what this woman agreed to. Maybe there was something else behind the scenes. We don't have those details.
Right, you don't have those details. So shut the fuck up. It's a child's life. Keep that kid out of your fucking mouth. I have a special chip on my shoulder about these kind of conversations, as you might imagine.
I wish the mother well. I wish the baby well.
That's why I sit next to two dickheads who call her a former stripper all the time as a pejorative, to trash her and the kid all the time, and remind everybody that, this stripper had sex with Hunter Biden, and this stripper didn't use protection and gave birth to a stripper baby. And you wish her well because you sit next to these two dickheads and never push back against it.
And I wish that the internet did not exist when she gets old enough to read.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Why? Because she's going to see these fucking clips where your douchebag co-hosts go, stripper baby, stripper baby, stripper baby, stripper. Who gives a shit?
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Yes, Sean, I would stay. I wouldn't push the 5 clips if I were you. I would put that in my contract. I understand you got to do the Fox channel, but make Greg do his own spots. Everybody else does. Ick.